that's a loaded question, isn't it?
Reading has changed my life in a variety of different ways. For starters, it allows me to understand perspectives from a variety of different people, and it allows me to live experiences that I would probably never have been able to before, from things that happened in the past and different things that other people experience, and go into their minds and their imagination.
How have books changed my life? For the better, I imagine. I remember the first book I guess I read that sort of changed or shaped the way I thought, at least for a while, was surprisingly The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. And it's funny because I had sort of two segments with this book. I tried reading it when I was maybe 13 or 12, and I didn't understand it. I thought the heroes in the book were the villains and the villains were the heroes. And then I guess when I grew up a little bit, there was a game I played that sort of dealt with the themes that she was talking about in her book. So I went back and I read the book and I loved it. I thought it was for its time, it was a book basically that was trying to promote selfishness versus the collective. And at the time, I thought that was a very interesting philosophy to have, because I was never outspoken. I was always part of the herd and I would belong, and I wouldn't like to talk about my own opinions. And I'd always sort of just go with the herd and agree with whatever it is they'd say. So like hearing or like reading a book that sort of told me, no, like you do have your own personality and you should excel at it because that's what you're there for. It changed the way I thought about a lot of things. Coincidentally, it is not one of my favorite books now, because like I realized after reading up on the history of the philosophy itself and on her, there are a lot of things I do disagree with, because she took it to the maximum. She took selfishness to the maximum, where you shouldn't even be nice to people if you excel at something. And despite that, I still think it was one of those influential books I read, because A, it offered me a philosophy I was unaware about, and B, it caused me to think about it. And when I grew up significantly, I was able to disagree using my own theories and my own experiences with life. And I feel that's what books do. They linger, and due to the fact that they linger, you can always like read into something new when you read a book, and they expand your mind. They absolutely do. They expand your mind, they expand the way you think. And yeah, like anyone who doesn't read, it's like not listening to music, or it's like not using your eyes, you know? I feel like it's an important, albeit a very compulsory thing. You have to read. It's important.
Every time I read a different book and a different type of books, there is a new side of me being explored. So I started with reading political novels and police investigations, and sort of like Agatha Christie and like the Mossad, which actually most of people won't read that in a very young age. After that, I wrote about physical and medical kind of books. Then I went to psychological books and how to prove yourself, and sort of on. The most affected part was actually reading children books, because the definition of children book actually was very simple, straight to the point, and had a lot of imaginary drawings and sort of on. So the affection came along with me being a lot of parts of myself, of personalities and mind thinking, even growing as a person, as an individual. And I became like more a free person, liberating all the thoughts, liberating all the expressing of myself. I can't say that actually reading took me to another whole world.
Hello, my name is Abdul Qurashi. Reading has had a huge impact on my life, because as a kid, my mother used to always take me to the library, and it was my favorite means of entertainment. Obviously, we didn't have the internet just yet, or not what it is today. In Riyadh, when I was living there through high school and everything else, it was really boring, and yeah, books also helped me pass the time. But even now, traveling and everything else, still got to keep a book on me at all times. It's just a great way to kind of get my head out of my world and into another world, and that's a place I'd like to dive into every now and then. So yeah, good times.